So after a couple of years, I'm finally doing some more rust repair on my cowl. I did a lot of rust repair on this cowl that I did before I was doing YouTube, so none of it's filmed. I've got pictures. Maybe I can make a collage or something and show up. Anyway, this is a piece I had to cut out to get access to under here to work, so it's welded back in now, as you can see, ready for primer. And the same thing on this side. This piece had been previously welded in. That's the piece I welded in the video, and I just welded this piece in right here. And again, it's ready for primer. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video, is welding these pieces in. I should be block sanding this primer on the dash and the roof, because that's where I'm kind of at in my sequence of videos. But I don't really feel like doing it tonight. I just don't feel like it. On my channel, the video that has the most views by far, by a wide margin, is the rust repair on this cowl I did, which unfortunately I started before I started doing my YouTube recording. So I did all that rust repair except this last little bit right up here before I ever started my YouTube. So it's kind of a shame people are interested in that, and I didn't record any of that. I did a lot of rust repair on this cowl. So where I'm at now is I'm putting things back together. I've got a piece here, and I got a couple other pieces here. Let me grab them. I got these pieces, all that I cut off to get in here and work and fix all this rust. So let me set these down, I'll grab the camera, and I'll show you what I've done so far and what we're doing next. Alright, for those of you that haven't watched that video or don't remember, this was my dad's truck. He stopped driving it around 2007 or 8. Well, 2007, when they sold their house, the house that I grew up in, and I brought it down here where I live, and it sat for another number of years. I don't remember exactly how many, but well, 10 years or more probably, without me driving it. I just had it sitting out in my driveway, which is my fault. I mean, you know, I was busy. At the time, I still had a lot of stuff going on, you know, personal life wise, and anyhow. So, and you know, like all these trucks, they all rust. They rust in the air vents. There was an air vent right here, and the same thing on the other side. Dad's truck was really straight. The only rust this truck really ever had, or had. The pinch rail, the sealer in the pinch rail had failed, and that area in there got in there and that rusted. Got in there and rusted. And of course the air vents in here had backed up with all the crap, leaves and stuff, and rusted through on both sides. I didn't even know it. My dad, I don't have a light. Get some light. The kick panel on the driver's side, which that's not a hole, that's a emergency brake pedal. The vent on that side, he'd actually sprayed that foam in a can, the hard drying foam, to cover up the rust holes over there. I never knew he'd done that till I got in there and started working on this thing. Oh yeah, the floor pans. The floor pan was shot. The driver's side floor pan, he'd patched that many, I bet he patched that thing 20 years ago. So there had been a rust in this cab for a long time. It wasn't just because it sat in my driveway 10 years. So I put a floor pan section on the driver's side over there. Put a floor pan section on the passenger side over here. I had to put inner and outer rockers on both sides because they were completely rusted away at the bottom. They were gone, especially this passenger side. I also had to put the lower A-pillar section in right down here because that was completely gone. I put the piece in the back of the pillar back here because that was gone. I got to have both cab corners, which I have not done yet because I hadn't pulled the bed or the cab. But those are new. Now, in here in the cowl vents, this truck, Dad put AC on this truck a long time ago, vintage air kit. So the truck's had and has and will have AC moving forward. Both the holes in here for the vents were this area right here was just full of rust holes. It was rusted away. To put the vent back in there, I'd have had to buy that firewall. It was like $400 or $500, a repop firewall. Try to go to the junkyard and find one that was, you know, worth cutting up and welding back in, or making this stuff myself, or whatever other option could come to. And I didn't feel like doing none of that, so I just decided just to ditch the vents. So I made a plate here and welded it in where the vent would have been and welded that up. The gray stuff you see, that's seam sealer. One thing the factory did not do, they didn't seal any of these seams against water. So even up under here, like you can probably see, I sealed all up under there. And the reason I cut this dash apart, I have a section the section I welded in that all y'all, the video that I've been talking about, it's not welded this section right here. I had this section cut out too. That was all done so I could put sealer all down inside the firewall. That whole seam there is sealed up. I sealed up under here, up under the corner where now you can't see it. This is all sealer right here. I got to finish that because now I got primer on it. So I've seam sealed all these seams that Chevrolet didn't seal. I have not sealed out here yet because it's on the outside, but I'm going to seal this seam. Well, actually, yeah, I did too. It is sealed up. Never mind. I've sealed this firewall seam right here. I sealed all down in the kick panels. Everything around here I could seal, I sealed up. And what happened was, you guys that have these trucks know, this thing had a complete bottom on it right here, and it caught all the leaves and debris, and water would get in here and just sit and rust away. There was no weep holes or anything. If there was, it was a small one. I don't even remember anymore. There was no weep hole or anything here for all that debris to go through, because it comes in up through the cowl, which was here, especially pine straw. Pine straw was just in here, you know, comes in here and gets down and falls through, and there was no bottom right here, and it falls through, or does not fall through, I'm sorry, and it sit here and it rusts. And that's why the inner kick panel in here, I remember now I had to replace the inner kick panel too, down here at the bottom, on both sides. But on this side, no, just this side. I replaced that too. Had to weld up a bunch of stuff, and I even sealed inside. That's more seam sealer on the inside from there. Where all this, I think I made a new piece for the floor. I made a patch for that. I didn't buy that. But all that sit there and cause all that rust to rust through. So what I did, well, let me show it. This is the piece that I cut off for this side. So it goes back on right there. I cut the bottom out. There used to be, the bottom was made, as I remember, it was one piece. This whole piece came around and welded on down here somewhere. I don't remember exactly. Might have even been part of this piece. It's very possible it was part of this piece right here. Well, I cut the bottom completely off. Now, I'm going to weld this outer piece back on, but I'm not going to put the bottom back in it because I don't need it. And even if I did need it, even if I did want to force air down in here through those air vents that used to be here, even having the bottom off, it would still work great. Now I'm not putting the bottom back on. I gotta. So what I'm going to do, and the same thing for the driver's side. I got the piece for the driver's side right here. So same deal. I got to weld it back on. There's some light over here. Here's all the seam sealer. Here's a piece I cut out right here. to be able to get down in here and seal this seam up. This seam was all rusty and leaking right through here. So I put patches in right here. And same thing with this vent right here. I took it out, made a patch, patched it over, seamed all down through here. I had to put I had to do a bunch of work on the bottom of the pillar on this side over here. So all this has been touched and worked on, and you know, like I said, in around our rockers on both sides. A lot of work. So where I'm at now is I got to weld these patches back in. That one, weld that back on again with no bottom, so the water can all run through. I have this one last piece here I got to weld back in. And I also forgot to mention the windshield wiper. It's very common on these trucks too. The windshield wiper sits right in here. Well, this area also was rusted out and leaking really bad. So I made a patch to go in here. And I fixed that and seal around all that too. So hopefully, knock on wood, knock on metal, knock on steel, something. I've got everything in the cowl now fixed and sealed up so it can't do that anymore. That the water can't get through. Especially on the seams that were never sealed. They're sealed up now. I've sealed like I said, all the way across there. So I hope I've knock on my hard head. I hope I've fixed that. So that's a lot of rambling, but I want to get you up to date on what has been done to the cowl. The firewall itself was in pretty good shape. I had to do a little bit of work along in here on the firewall. I don't remember now. I think I had to make a patch right in here somewhere. It's been like 2 years since I did this. I think I did some work up into here. But it's had epoxy primer on it now. I think I worked right here. Did some work up in here too. So anyway, that's where I'm at now on this. So from moving forward, I'm just going to weld those pieces back in. Now, in order to do these two over here, these have all been sandblasted and pre-primed in the past. So those are already epoxy primed. I did that a couple years ago too. I did not sandblast the outside because this is still bare steel. My sandblaster is still out of whack, my sandblaster is still out of service where I moved it when I cleaned up in here. I got it over against the wall, but with crap piled over it. So I got to run a new airline and the stuff over there to be able to use it. Well, I don't have to, but I want to. Anyway, it's out of service at the moment. So I've got to get it hooked back up so I can sandblast these, because I want to sandblast these before I weld them on. So much easier than trying to sandblast it after it's on here. But anyway, I'm gonna set the camera up, and we're gonna at least weld this piece in, and we can weld that piece in over there. And in the meantime, when I'll come back in the next few days, however long it takes me, and I'll have those pieces sandblasted and primed and be ready to weld on. One more thing I'll add, as my usual, I got the weld through primer. The copper kind. I use a product from Sims called Copper Coat. They've got it in a spray can. Obviously this is a can, and you dip a brush in. I just like this way better. I can take a brush and dip it right where I want it rather than have to spray the mess everywhere. Stuff's gotten expensive. Everything's gotten expensive. So it lasts a lot longer to me if you just use a brush. Just brush it on where you need it. And one thing I did want to point out as well, this is the bolt for the fender, and right here, these two bolts are for your front fender bolts. I did not want to lose these anchor points here from my fender. If I'd have cut all this loose, a bunch up in here, I would have completely lost reference for these points. I'd have had to make a jig or measure or do something for the for the placement. Didn't want to do that. So this corner here has never been moved. That's one of the reasons I cut around it and did it the way I did it. Even then, one big piece, could I have done it? Yeah. And should I have done it that way? I don't know. Hindsight is 20/20, right? This is the way it works too. Anyway, I'm going to clamp this in place, and then we'll see about welding it up. Alright, I tried to zoom in close enough so I think hopefully you can see what I'm doing. A couple more things. Since I cut the original panels out or cut the original pieces out and put them back, my spot weld holes where I cut out are still there. So it's real easy to line it up, put it back together, just line the spot weld holes up. There's imprints on the back side, and then the hole I actually cut out. Alright. And also, it's nice to be doing some welding again. It's not upside down. Whew, man. Alright, as usual, first thing we'll go through and do is tack it in place. You're not going to do it. Electrical. Oh, I can't work. There's no more we don't do. Put it on in. Stop. There's also open anything. It's not back away. There's also back away. We'll say it is. All right. We get tack on that side. We're going to try one. We're going to get that. That's your timer. Don't want to fix already. We're going to get hot. I'm going to get that. I'm just working this thing down a little bit. You don't really have to. It just makes me feel better doing it, and it, certainly does not hurt. I mentioned it one time before, it's very important when you're welding stuff like this to make sure nothing's on fire when you quit welding. There's been a lot of garages burned down because of that. I don't know anybody personally, thank God, that's happened to, but I have heard about it and read about it. A couple of friends of mine are firemen, well, more than a couple, are firemen, and they have stories, and I don't like to hear them. I had to get some bigger vice grips to get down in here. If you clamp this up, so it'll fit right, line up right. Still a little funky right there, but once I get some tacks on it, I can kind of dolly it back in place. You don't know what I mean by that. When you're putting this kind of stuff together, it's not tacked or welded. Flanges can just bounce and move around. You got to get things kind of tacked together. Then you can hammer and dolly and move them around. Not always the case, but on stuff like this, you certainly can. If you're welding a panel edge or something, that's different. Stuff like this, you certainly can do it. like I said, it's 10 o'clock, so it's time to quit for me tonight. So we got the piece tacked in. Here's a bit of a gap you can see I'm having to fill. I mean, it's not great, it's not horrible. Tighten up down here. It's just how it fit back together. I've had this thing cut apart in 3 pieces. So, you know, the gaps kind of change and move. Here's where I was talking about you can't see them, but there's my spot weld holes where I drilled them out originally and lined right back up on the original holes. So tomorrow I'll get out here, I'll finish welding this up. And then I want to prime all back up in here again like I did before I weld this bottom piece on. So I won't be able to get to it back up under here anymore. Same thing on that side. I got to weld that piece in and do the same drill. So I'll come back tomorrow and we'll get some more work done. Alright, back on this again. We got to finish welding this up. I moved the camera. Maybe you can see a little bit better, a little bit different. I don't know. I'm going to wind up fast forwarding all this anyway. So I got to finish welding up the seam. Got a few more spot weld holes, plug welds to weld up back there. Got a couple of rust pinholes that I never fixed before. I weld them up too. Oh, let me try something. I got this fan on. Maybe just screw my shielding gas up, because I'm blowing right on my welds. Well, they're still pretty crappy. Actually, that might have helped. So lesson to self, and I knew this. I had that fan blowing right across here, blowing into my shielding gas. My welds were a little more porous and unclean than I'd like, and I've seen that before when I had gas issues. Just didn't dawn on me that it was a damn fan, so live and learn on that one. As far as pinholes go, what I'm doing, I'm I'm filling up a few pinholes that I had left, either for my welding because I had the shielding gas messed up. There was some trash, and there's surface rust back under this panel here that's been sitting without not being primed. I take a flashlight and shine it behind my weld joint, and you can see where all the pinholes are. It lights them right up like a Christmas tree. So that's a good way to find them all. Let's weld them up. Normally, if it's pinholes in where you were welding, turn your heat up a little bit, because now you got weld there. You do it with your low heat. You don't have enough heat to get good penetration. Turn your heat up, weld that pinhole right up. Now, there are cases where they have trash in them, and I've shown that in other videos, where sometimes it's got a piece of rust or trash that's gotten in there and contaminated that weld. No matter what you do, grind and re-weld, that trash is popping back up. You have to drill that out. Grinding it all the way through, you grind your metal, you get so thin you can't weld on it. So you just take a drill. I take an 1/8" drill bit, and where that pinhole spot is, I'll just drill it out. But luckily I don't have that spot here, thank goodness. I ain't got to go through that drill. I'm just hitting these last few pinholes that I found. And some of them are incredibly tiny. But I try to find them and fix them anyway. It's just how I like to do it. Now, somewhere like on the side of this dash where I couldn't do that, I didn't do that. But on this stuff where I can get to it, have access to it, I really try to get rid of all my pinholes. Well, that might have done it that time. We'll see this if I zoom in. Yeah, there's the plug welds. I got a weld up right there. I'll get a little bit of spitting and sputtering from this weld through primer, but I got the heat up hot enough. It should weld in there pretty good. Okay, here's what I got. So here's the piece welded in, obviously, right down through here, up and through there. This is where I had to fix those three rust holes that I didn't fix before, and the welds on the back. The light trick I was telling you about, you just take your flashlight. I won't cut the light on because it'll blind the camera. Just cut your flashlight on, stick it back up in here, and if any pinholes are there, the light will show right through and show them right up. Alright, this little patch is done. It seemed like a lot of work for a little patch, and I guess it probably was, because I had to fight this gap here, and I had to fight some rust. There's some surface rust back up under the back side of this piece here that I never primed before, which I didn't realize till the other day. So I'm going to take care of that. I'm going to spray some OSPO on it, let it dry overnight, and I'm going to epoxy prime this behind here before I weld it up. Might even go ahead and prime the top side, all but the weld seam. In fact, I think I probably will. Make sense to go ahead and get primer on it. So now I got to weld up the patch on the other side. So I guess I'll bring you along for that, and we'll see how much of it I actually show. Alright, let's see if we can get this other one welded in. Same as before. I'm going to start tacking around the corners, the edges, and work it in. It's definitely lost its shape a little bit, gained some shape, so I'll work that around as I go. The gap on this one is much better, so I shouldn't have a lot of trouble welding this one, honestly, but then again, you never know. So we'll just start by tacking it in. I do have the fan running. It's not blowing across my welds at all, so it should be just fine, as opposed to a while ago or earlier. The other side. Now, one thing I got to watch with this one is it's got a little bit of extra crown for some reason. When I cut it out, either it poofed up or for some reason it kind of poofed up a little bit. So you see, we're proud here, almost 1/4 of an inch. Well, not that much, 1/8 of an inch in the back. So when I squish it down, when I flatten it back out, it's going to gain some length. So I got to watch that I don't, there's enough. Dang it. There's plenty of gap here to allow that to happen. Just keep that in mind. And if you're doing something like this, you don't want to lock the two sides in and then try to squish the back down. It won't work. The metal's got anywhere to go. The metal has nowhere to go. You've got to work it out in this particular situation. I got another body man tool here. Let me back out. We used to call these a dolly on a stick. It's I've had this thing now almost 40 years. Long time. A lot of them were Snap-on man or the Mac man, one of the two. It's basically like a dolly with a handle. You beat on stuff with it, you hammer the back side, it's forged, it's made to be hit with a hammer. We call it a dolly on a stick. I fix a lot of stuff with this. You can put it down inside things and leverage it. All kind of stuff in the body shop trade world, body shop world. I'm gonna see if I can get it in here and leverage this piece up a little bit and hit it with a hammer if I need to, which I probably will. I'm not sure why this thing. I'm a little bit disappointed in myself that I didn't catch this earlier. I should have. And I didn't. I was worried about getting it welded in. So I'm going to take this. As I said before, body man's friend, always a bigger hammer. See if we can work this up a little bit. May not be able to. May want to move it on me too much. they're MIG welds, not TIG welds. MIG welds are much harder to planish out than a TIG weld. Now we're getting there. Alright, let's finish it up. dolly sing when I get on it. And right here, I'm going to switch to a flat dolly and see if I'm doing any better. That is a flat seam right here, pretty much. Gotta get to it, find out where it's right there. Actually, let me get my bigger dolly. I can stand it up on the edge. That's what I'm doing, hitting it like this. So this lets me get more leverage and more push on it. This way. Hear it singing now? When you're trying to plan this one out, that's what you want to hear. You want hammer on dolly that stretches those welds back out and gets a lot of that, gets that shrink out. A lot of it anyway, maybe not all of it. Well, it'll do all of it if you do it enough. Of course, again, this is a MIG weld. These are hard. These are much harder to do. Planison hammer would be the best way to do it. I don't have a little handheld planison hammer. I want to get one of those. It wouldn't fit up under here anyway. Yeah, you see what I almost did? I wrapped my fingers around just about to do that. So don't do stupid stuff like that. Now here, this has got a flat. I'm going to go back to the flat side of this dolly. See, that's got a rounded edge on it to match its curve better. I'm pushing up really hard. Trying to get the flange down. That's better. That's not going to be great. It's not going to, well, it's not great. It was never going to be great. The seams when I welded it together were a little bit, you know, instead of being flat, they were tucked down a little. I'm exaggerating. They were tucked down a little bit. So that's just the way it wound up. Again, nobody's ever going to see this, so it's okay. Well, I shouldn't say it's okay, but it's going to have to be okay. I like this dolly much better up under here than I did this one. Much better. Should have thought of that earlier. Fits his profile just right. That did help on that. Now I'm going to grinder over it a little bit, and that'll help settle it down some more. let me get the camera down and well, let me do that. Actually, let me check for pinholes again. Alright, now I see a couple right there. Let me try to weld up these pinholes right quick. Oh, that's good. Let's go, see. Right, come on down. Take a wire down. Come on. Take a wire brush. You see those spots. I'll figure those spots there. No flagging. Come out. Work around, I'll be clean. There we are, all welded in. Looks pretty good. Like I said, there's a couple spots here where my panels weren't exactly perfect when I lined them up. But this is going to be, like I said, this is on an area that nobody's ever going to see, including me. If this was an area where it was like an external panel, I was going to white filler over it, I'll probably pick some of these high spots down, maybe a little. But even then, it's still this panel is in really good shape. It came out nice. So that's the end of this video. As you can see, I've already primed off camera. I've already primed the patches I welded in right there, and obviously over here. So next thing, as far as rust repair on the cowl goes, is welding on the two outside pieces. The piece that goes here and the same piece on the other side. That'll finish rust repair on the cowl. Yay, can't wait. Not there yet. I've been doing block sanding off camera. Yay, y'all love block sanding. We all love block sanding. Woo! So that's it for the video. This one got a little long. It's a little over an hour. I'm sorry for that. I was going to cut it in half again. I really don't like making these videos part 1, part 2, but they get long, and you know, I'm going to stick with I'm stubborn. I'm going to stick with my plan of more detailed videos. They're going to be 45 minutes to an hour long. That's just how they're going to be, most of them. Alright, I want to say I reached 50 subscribers. That's 50. That's about 50 more than I thought I would get when I first started this. So thank you to everybody who subscribed. Thank you very much. I'm just a, you know, I was going to say a country boy. I'm not really a country boy. I live out in the country. I'm just a country boy, for lack of a better term, who works on cars. I've been doing it for a long time, and started a YouTube channel because I thought I might be able to do it and grow it and maybe make a retirement out of this one day. So thank you again. I really do appreciate it. And if you got to the end of the video of this, I don't see you watching this. Thank you. We're a long way from 500 subscribers, but we will, you know, baby steps, little step at a time. So anyway, thank you for being here. If you're liking this stuff, tell your friends, your enemies, your ex-wives, your boyfriends, whatever. Tell everybody to give it a look, check it out, see if they'll like it. Maybe they won't. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for being here. I appreciate it so much, so much. Don't forget to do the like, comment, subscribe, the thing. Tell your buddies and friends and whatever ever. And anyway, I will catch you on the flip side. Y'all come back now. You hear? Ye freaking haw.